Greetings, ladies and metalgens, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Bro, written by I Am the Hype TFS. The snickers he might have been able to take, the looks of derision he might have been able to ignore, but now they were just openly mocking him, as if he couldn't hear it. Of course they knew he could, and either didn't care or wanted him to. In the end, all that mattered was the message was sent loud and clear. You do not belong here. Giga was just shy of 4.5 feet tall, small even for his species, and from a race known for their intelligence rather than physical prowess. The Heidel Collective were known as such because they were capable of forming a temporary hive mind with others of their own kind by quite literally putting their heads together. As long as physical contact was maintained between individuals, the connection would not break, and thoughts could flow freely through the collective mind. This led to their race evolving to be incredibly efficient at developing technologies and systems that require minimal physical effort on the part of the Heidel themselves. As such, they had developed greatly in mind, but not in body, and it had to be said that most looked almost pathetic when seen outside of a specifically designed exosuit that enabled them to carry out physically taxing tasks with relative ease. Humans had even commented that they resembled some of the first interpretations of what aliens might look like in their earlier generations, from the gray skin and small, thin bodies to the large heads that sat on their shoulders. This all being the case, it was clear that Giga had no business being at a gym of all places, and the other members, at least the ones willing to give him any attention at all, were more than happy to show their agreement. He saw some of them take out recording devices and, not wanting to be humiliated further, was about to leave when a tall human with the squarest jawline he'd ever seen in his life jogged up to him. The man was shredded, as the humans put it, and Giga bet that he could pick out each individual muscle on his body from 20 feet away if he had to. Honestly, he could have served as a perfect human model for educational purposes. "You're new here, right, bro? Come with me and I'll show you the ropes." Without waiting for an answer, the human placed a hand on Giga's back and guided him to the other side of the gym and away from the gawkers. They stopped in front of a length of thick rope on the floor, looped through a ring bolted to the ground. "Well, these are the ropes. Sorry, bro, it's a bad joke, but I couldn't resist. Anyway, if you don't mind me saying, you don't exactly look like you've done a ton of cardio, so we're definitely going to have to work on your stamina before anything else. But first and foremost, stretching. Just do what I do, but don't push yourself." The human sat on the floor facing the other side of the gym and patted the spot in front of him so that Giga would only see him and the wall behind him, preventing the Heidel from seeing if the others were still watching. Even knowing that the man was obviously doing this for his benefit, Giga was just so taken aback by how natural he was about it that he just ended up doing what the human said without question. Following his new acquaintance's lead, he sat on the floor with his legs straight out in front of him and tried to emulate the human as he practically folded it in half as he stretched. Giga was far less capable and quickly reached the limits of his flexibility, but let out a grunt of effort and tried to force himself further, thinking that the human might think that he was wasting his time if he didn't. When he felt hands on his shoulders pushing him back up. "Nah, bro, not like that. You try to fall something and it's either gonna break or tear, and that's gonna set you back even more. You gotta be patient and work with your body, not against it. You'll get there eventually, I promise. Now try again, but this time, when you reach your limit, instead of trying to force yourself forward, breathe and relax into the stretch. See what happens." Giga's face was pink with shame, but the human didn't seem to notice or care, and so he did as he was told and tried again, surprised to find that when he breathed out, he could actually go deeper than before, without feeling like he was fighting his own body. "Awesome! Now hold it for another 5 seconds and come back up." He felt the human's hand pressing slightly on his back, one of his fingers tapping each of the 5 seconds for him. "Nice and slow, bro. All right, now that you've got the basic idea of it, I'm going to walk you through a couple more stretches, and then we'll hit the track. Sound good?" Giga was surprised to find himself nodding along with the human's plan. He just seemed to know what to do, and it seemed like most natural thing to listen. 13 minutes later, and feeling looser than he ever had before, he followed the human to an indoor track, and contrary to expectations, they started a casual walk. "Aren't you going for a run or something?" Giga looked around the other members who were doing everything from jogging to sprinting, while they were just walking. It didn't feel like he was doing what he was supposed to compared to everyone else. "Bro, it's your first day, and I'm willing to bet that you've never stretched out like we just did. You're already going to be sore as hell tomorrow, and making you run when you haven't had a chance to build your stamina yet would just be cruel. Baby steps, bro. Gotta walk before you can run. Literally, in your case, sir. Now, if you want to talk about something you can do outside the gym, we could talk diet. What type of food do you normally eat? Oh, you should also grab a protein powder sample out of the shop on your way out today, just to see if you like it. They've got chocolate, vanilla, most of the basic human flavors, but also a bunch of others that I'm not even going to try pronounce, sir. And aside from the one I'm convinced is supposed to taste like dirt, they're not half bad." Giga just walked in silence for a while as the human rambled on passionately about the importance of diet and exercise, throwing in personal pearls of wisdom here and there, and eventually he took an active role in the conversation, the presence or thoughts of anyone around them fading away as he found himself fully engrossed in the discussion. Over 2 hours later, time Giga hadn't felt past at all. The human's watch beeped. "Well, time to hit the showers, got a full day of work tomorrow, and getting a good night's sleep is super important. Gonna swing by here around the same time as today, so we'll pick this up then, 'kay, bro?" Giga was only now becoming aware that his legs felt like jelly after so much walking. Suddenly realized that neither he nor the human had actually told each other their names. Called out to the man who had started jogging towards the locker rooms. "Wait a minute, what's your name, bro? I'm Giga." Turning so that he was still moving towards the locker room, only backwards now, the human playfully smacked the side of his head, giving a laughter-riddled response before disappearing through the doorway. "Oh, duh! My bad, bro. Totally slipped my mind. My name's Chad." End of story. Story number 2. Even a man may move a mountain, written by Random 3X. Loxic looked out his viewport at a planet of the race named Humans. They were a race that seemed as contradictory as it was straightforward. The best word he had yet found to describe them was indomitable. Humanity had burst onto the scene only 100 years ago during the great collapse of the Uleti Empire. The empire itself was corrupt and a vicious bully that preferred to take from everyone. But after meeting humanity in what had become known as the Great Deception, they began to reform. By the time the deception of the humans had been uncovered, a vast civil war had broken out. Supposedly, the reformists had refused to back down in the face of the conservatists. The conflict that had been kept initially to the Uleti system spread like a Nox fire across the entire galaxy. Feeling responsible for this, humanity joined the conflict, hoping to quell the chaos they themselves had unleashed. At first, no one wanted their help, but this changed as their soldiers proved themselves time and time again. The sacrifice of the cataphracts, the last stand of the spearmen, the great charge of the horse guard. Many battles were the humans held against all odds, often incurring casualties so severe that they had all but been wiped out. All save those that came to aid. It was then a saying began to spread amongst species. The best defense is to have a human at your side. Far faster than the start of the conflict, humanity began to move forwards, slowly quelling the chaos from the collapsing empire. Loxic couldn't help but sigh. He himself had been a mere youngling when he was rescued by a human warrior. The man shoved him out of the way of a heavy plasma barrage. Despite sustaining injuries, the Loxic could still remember the smile on the man's face. It was only later that he had learned the man's last words to him were translated as, "Good, you're okay, run to safety. I'll hold them off." Even in his adult years, Loxic felt a deep debt to that human. But he could never understand why. Why had humanity strived so hard to save people? They could have easily avoided the majority of the conflict, but they still pressed on into the proverbial meat grinder. "Loxic, are you okay?" one of the human generals he was there to meet asked, having noticed his disposition. "Just remembering my childhood. The human who sacrificed himself for me."
"Ah, apologies if we have brought up bad memories."
"I still do not understand why he did it, though."
"You were a child at the time, right?"
Loxic nodded.
"Then that was all the reason that we would need."
Loxic understood the idea of sacrificing oneself to ensure the young survive, but there was a barrier of why they would do it for another species. Seeing his answer wasn't good enough, the general smiled and sat next to him.
"We would rather invest in the infinite future of a child than anything else."
"But the will there would take to do such a thing."
"The will required would be something. If it is all at once would be too much. But we have a saying amongst us humans. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. The idea is just by taking even small steps, progress can be made to the impossible."
"Surely, though, such a saying cannot be true at all. Small steps, yes, but that would not explain the strength of will to be needed to self-sacrifice, as your race does."
"Let me tell you a story then. Long, long ago, there was a man who lived in a remote village. His wife was hurt in an accident."
"I assume that she was taken to a doctor."
The general nodded. "Sadly, she died on the way to the doctor. You see, the route to the doctor forced them to go around a mountain. In his grief, the man took a hammer and a chisel and carved the mountain into small rocks."
"Surely you don't mean to say—"
"Yes. He moved the mountain. He carved a path through the mountain and reduced a nearly 35-mile trip to only 9. He didn't do it in a day, nor a year. It took him decades. But he still did it."
"Why did he do it such a feat?"
"Simple. To ensure that no one would have to suffer as he did. We humans are a mixed and muddled race at the best of times. But when our will is hardened enough, even a man can move a mountain. So saving a child at your cost of your life, if anything, is an easier task."
"I see," Loxic said as he fell into thought. Truly, a word indomitable was the most fitting for humanity, because what else would you call their feats? End of story. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons, Dragzoon WRE, Quantum Wednesday, Ambrose Cattell, Lord Ashrakal, Bushmaster 177, Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.